أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Again, we are going to read chapter 36, verse 45, and we want to finish it tonight, inshallah. Okay, you go, Mom.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And when they are told, you should fear deeds of your past and what is awaiting you in the future, that you may attain mercy, no matter what sign is manifested to them from their Lord's signs, they ignore it. And when they are told, spend from what God has provided for you, those who are unfaithful say to the faithful, why should we feed those whom God would have fed if he had so willed? You are clearly gone astray. And they say, when will this promise be fulfilled if you are truthful? Before too long they will be overcome by a single thunderous sound as they are feuding. They will have no chance to even make a will, nor will they ever join their family. And the trumpet sounds, whereby they will come out of the graves rushing to their Lord, generation after generation. They say, woe to us who resurrected us from our tombs. This is what the All-Gracious promised, and the messenger was truthful. It will be only a single thunderous sound, whereby they all will be summoned before us. Then on that day, no soul will suffer any injustice, and you will be repaid exactly for what you did. Indeed, the dwellers of paradise on that day will be happily busy, and their spouses will rest on furnishings and extended shades. Therein will be fruits and everything they desire. Greetings of peace from an all-merciful Lord. As for you, O guilty, you will be set aside on that day. Did I not make a covenant with you, O children of Adam, that you shall not worship Satan? For indeed he is your most manifest enemy, and that you shall worship me. This is the straight path. And he has surely misled multitudes of you. Do you not then use your intelligence? This is Gehenna that was promised to you. Today it will be your abode because of your unfaithfulness. On that day we will seal their mouths, and their hands will speak to us, and their feet will bear witness to everything they have done. If we willed, we could have certainly veiled their eyes. Consequently, they would have wandered off without being able to see. And if we willed, we could have transfixed them in their places, so they could not move forward, nor could they go back. And when we grant a long life to anyone, we reverse him back to the original creation. Do they not then use their intelligence? We did not teach him poetry, nor is it befitting for him to recite one. It is only a reminder and a profound Quran. This is to warn those who are alive and to fulfill the truthful promise for the unfaithful. Do they not see that we created for them from our handiwork livestock that they own? And we have subdued them for them, that they may ride some, and some they may eat. And there are benefits for them as well as sources of drink. Would they not then be grateful? And they assumed other gods besides God, that they may be helped. They have no power to help them, however they serve them like obedient soldiers. Therefore do not let their utterances sadden you. We know exactly what they hide and what they declare. Does the human being not see that we indeed created him from semen? Then he turns into the most manifest enemy, And he cites an example for us while forgetting his own creation. He says, who can resurrect the bones after they are rotted? Say the one who initiated them in the first place will resurrect them, and he fully knows every creation. The one who produces fuel for you from the green tree, then you ignite fire therewith. Is the one who created the vacua and matter, not able to create the likes of them? Yes, indeed, and he is the Creator, the all-knowing. Indeed, once he decides anything, he simply says to it, be, and it is. Therefore, glory to the one in whose hand is the kingship of all things, and to him you will be returned.
Okay, thank you. Okay, very good. Any questions, any comments, observations, any discussions?
Assalamu alaikum, Ali.
Walaikum salam, Tasneem. Yes.
The verse 78 and 79.
Yes.
Yeah, and he cites an example for us while forgetting his own creation. He says, who can resurrect the bones after they are rotted? Say, the one who initiated them in the first place will resurrect them, and he fully knows every creation. So this reminds me of the verse in Surah 75. I'll go to it.
Okay.
1 minute. Where it is in Surah Al-Qiyamah, where Allah says, does the human being think that we will not collect the bones, his bones? Yes, indeed, we are able to reconstruct his fingertips.
Yes.
So
yes.
This has always intrigued me from the time I read it first many times, many years ago, up to this day whenever I read it. So Allah is referring to the fingerprints of our fingers that are unique to each individual. And It is a way of identifying the individual in the law enforcement. I believe even the identical twins don't have same fingerprinting. So Allah will resurrect everything up to fingerprinting. That's so fantastic. I thought.
Yeah, very good. Very good observation. Yes. Yep. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, anything else? Any other comments or observational questions and discussions? You know, the past 3-4 months we've been talking about this, that God is expander, and 81 verse 81, 36, 81, God is talking again about, vacuum and matter. And so God, he says, is the one who created the vacuum and matter not able to create the likes of them? And then, yes, indeed, and he is the creator, the all-knowing. So we have no clue how large God's creation is. We have no idea. And so again, I go back to chapter 16 that God says that he says, and he creates what you do not know. Okay, so we just have, as I said, we have no clue. But God is telling us that and it's basically boundless and endless. And so no matter how much you think or how much you can think, you cannot really fathom the creation of God. And His creation is beyond our wildest imagination. So we cannot imagine it. And again, this one also has, I believe it's in verse 1799, if I'm not mistaken. So let me go there and yep. God says in this one, 1799, He says, do they not realize that indeed God, who has created the vacuum and matter, is capable of creating similar ones? And that He assigned an interim for them wherein there is no doubt. However, the transgressors continue to reject it and are ungrateful. So this is again God repeating the same thing that we just read in chapters 36, 81. And He's telling us, that again, it's absolutely boundless. And so every one of these also has an interim. Okay? So we have no idea, but we have to actually have no doubt about it. So this creation just goes on and on and on. And this is absolute beauty of this, and it gives you so much hope. Okay? So then we would not be, talking about those kinds of things that God is saying that, look, He's forgetting His own creation. We are forgetting our own creation, and we just discussed it. And this is the hubris that people have, that they think that God is unable to do it. And, when you look at His creation, everything is unique. Okay? So I brought this idea of that, in quantum mechanics, people give these numbers to different particles, and they're called quantum numbers. And that's how you distinguish these things. Okay, so they're called spin, isospin, flavor. They're called color forces, things like that. So that you may have heard about it. But the reason that we do that is because we want to distinguish between them. To my mind, the way that God is actually describing this, every particle is unique. Okay? Every single particle is unique. It's not that, they obey Pauli exclusion principle or something like that. That's quantum mechanical jargon. Okay? Every particle is unique. So you cannot find two particles that are not unique or just exactly alike each other, just like we are different. Okay, everyone else is different. And I brought this example for you that, the stripes of a tiger is unique to that tiger. It's just as unique as our fingerprint. The same thing with the spots on the leopard. The same thing with the spots on a giraffe. They are the same. They are not the same. They are different. Every one of them is the unique creation of God. Okay? And so that's what God is telling us. God is telling us that, look, this is who God is. And there is no end to His creation, and He has numbered all of them. So when I showed those things that, those neutrinos that came from this supernova, and also showed this other thing that neutrinos that came from this NGC 1068, which is a galaxy about 47 million light years away from us. This is called AGN, or active galactic nucleus. Ours is not like that. Our galaxy is not like that. So these are these hungry black holes in the center of these galaxies, and matter just keeps, getting captured by this black hole, and God knows where it goes. But it produces a lot of energy, and it produces a lot of these neutrinos. And these neutrinos, after 10 years, 80 of them, they interacted inside this detector that we have. But every one of them now, those neutrinos that interacted are very unique. Okay? That means they have a lifespan. That lifespan was not the just like the other neutrino that went and is still traveling after 47 million years. Okay? Can you imagine that? I mean, it's absolutely boggles the mind. And so every one of them is unique. So every one of them has its own number. Okay? We look at them and we say, oh, they're all the same. This is the way we're going to distinguish them and classify them. But that classification is our classification. That classification is not complete and it's not detailed enough. The classification that God gives us, every particle has its own number. Okay? And that's the amazing part. So anything else? Any other comments or questions?
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Fazely, Ramadan
Walaikum salam.
everyone.
Yes.
I just thought today's Juma taught me something when you mentioned Dr. Khalifa's Arabic with mother tongue, yet his translation, when God really inspires that translation, it grows and it takes on another life, and it just doesn't stop there. So it's not written in stone. It's forever. So you see how it's growing by, like you said, using the word. It left me. Not land, but matter, and that
matter.
Yeah, that things change with land leaves things flat and solid and stays the same, but with the matter and using the tools, then you can it just expands. Again, we're talking about God's expansion, and so we can't leave anything to chance, and we can't leave anything written in stone. Like you said, God in 20 years might show us a whole same Quran, but in another fashion that is fitting for that particular time. So
but today what we have to do is that for you, okay, what my goal was today, and what I was really stressing and I was highlighting was that the fact that now that we know this, we have to actually respect matter more. And the matter, although it's at disposal, we have to be careful what we do with it. So as I said, you can make a telephone with matter, okay? So they say, well, this guy invented telephone. Alexander Graham Bell, he invented telephone. That was a good thing, that people could communicate with one another, okay? And so now you can also make a bugging device that you can put in that telephone, and you can listen to somebody's thing, and that means you are spying on that person. Okay? That's a bad thing. That's why God says don't do this. Do not treat matter with evil scheming. Okay? Because you are going to be a corrupter. That's how you do it. Okay? But that description that Rashad had, an understanding that we had until today at noon, okay? That was okay at that time. So we know that we are not supposed to do bad things on this earth. Okay? So we have to be somebody who's constructing, not corrupting. We know that. Okay? But then again, the examples are in the Quran. God is telling us about that. Okay? So again, that story of David is just so profound. Okay? That he says, look, you build shield out of this iron that now it's soft for you. Okay, you do not build a sword, you build a shield. Okay. So he tells them he stressed defense instead of offense. Okay, that's the beauty of it. And that's why we have to pay attention. So we have, since God has put us in charge of this matter, so we have to actually be very careful what we do with it. So one way of doing it, as I said, is that you harness the energy, for example, from fusion. We just read about it. That Department of Energy and all of these guys, they had this thing for the first time. they are getting actually more energy out that they put in. So it's becomes a more efficient engine. It wasn't efficient before. Now it's become more efficient engine. So it's actually creating more energy than it did before. So that is good because now you're producing this, this vast amount of energy that there's no end to it because there's always hydrogen around. Okay, and so we can actually use that for a good thing. But if you make a hydrogen bomb, obviously that's not a good thing because that's an instrument of offense, and it's an instrument that you want to subjugate other people with the threat of using that. Okay, that is not a righteous way to do it. And people who do that are not going to succeed. They're going to fail because God says so. Okay.
I hope so, because the way that people are forcing war today is just not it's not good. I'm glad you reiterated that, because I kind of heard it, but I took it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
And God will see to it. When the time comes, God will fix it. Okay. So I'm not worried about it. We just have to be. God says we have to be patient. Okay, that's what God says over and over in the Quran. You have to. God has His own plans, which are the best plans, and so at that time, when the time comes, they're going to pay. That's what God says.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So we don't look for vengeance because, like God said, it's His.
It has nothing to do with vengeance. No. I'm just saying that the bad deeds are not going to be fruitful for you. That's all there is to it. Okay. You cannot use the money that you've stolen from somebody, okay, for your betterment. It's not going to work that way. It's going to have a very bad ending. Okay? So anything which is sinful that God says don't do, it's going to come back to haunt you. As simple as that.
Got it.
Okay, anything else? Any other comments or observations or questions?
Salam, Dr. Fazely.
Welcome, salam. Yes, Maryam, go ahead, please.
Verse 67, 36, 67. If we willed, we could have transfixed them in their places, so that they could not move forward, nor could they go back. So, and then followed by the 68, and when we grant a long life to anyone, we reverse him back to the original creation. Do they not then use their intelligence? So I have two questions on verse 67. What do you mean exactly by transfixed? Is this a physical thing, which means they are like basically turned into thin? And
they don't have any ability to do anything. That's what God is saying here. I mean, to me, that thing means that they're going to be fixed in place. They cannot do anything. You got to put this, in the context of chapter 68. Remember, chapter 68 said that, they will be invited again to fall prostrate, but they cannot. Okay, and so remember that it said that you were invited to fall prostrate before, and when you were whole and able. Okay, so these are the souls that are absolutely deformed. Okay, so that's what God says in here, that we had also the they cannot see. Okay, and let's see, 68. Which one was the one that they cannot see, that their sight will be gone?
They cannot.
Yeah, there it is. Okay, 74.
Oh.
And they assumed other gods besides God, and they will be helped. Okay, no, that's not it. Yeah, that's the before that 66. And if we willed, we could have certainly veiled their eyes. Consequently, they would not have been. They would have wandered off without being able to see. Okay, so again, these are all these warnings that what is really going to happen to you if you continue doing this. And because what you are doing is in this world, you have two options. One option is that we take God's side and His path, and we grow our souls. And on the other hand, we can also go against God and then forget about all of those instructions that He actually has given us, and then we actually shrink our souls. And this would be the consequence of that.
It's really scary, yeah. It's so it's almost like we can become, well, we can be in a vegetative state where there is no...
Exactly. That's quadriplegic. I mean, you can think of a quadriplegic, okay? Can't do anything. Okay? So it's a very scary thing, and God is telling us about this. This is not a joke. I mean, but the problem with this is that this is going to be eternal. Okay? Yeah. This is the so-called perdition. Okay, the perdition in Christianity would place that you have perpetual torment and perpetual punishment. It's never going to end. So that's what God is telling us that we have to avoid.
Makes sense now. The verse 68. So, what did you mean exactly by the original creation? So, somebody who lives a long life, basically, is this like an exception, or is it like God's law? If you live so long, then you are back to this original, reversed to original creation.
Well, God says, you were weak, and then God gave you strength, and then you become weak again. So that's what happens. Okay, so you go through those steps and those stages in your lifetime.
So the weak, the weak state.
Exactly. Yeah.
But is this about the matter only, or I mean the body, or are we talking also about? Because I'm just trying to understand the soul that we are born with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Would this kind of change apply to the soul? Which means due to the life.
No, this doesn't. No.
Okay, so it's strictly physical.
Physical, exactly physical. Okay, so this goes through, human body goes through these stages. Okay, so you are not as strong and healthy as you were when you were 20 years old. Okay, so then what happens is that as you age, okay, those things will be taken away from you, and you become weaker and weaker. And that's what God is talking about, that when you were a baby, you needed help because you couldn't walk, things like that. And then when you grow up more and more, and the strength will be given to you by God, your body was going to be and then basically it goes as they say, entropy and thermodynamics, that your high entropy, that means disorder is going to replace order. Okay, so that's what happens.
And I wanted just Dr. Fazely to mention thank you so much for the Friday prayer, because that actually prompted me to read more about Fasad, and because God actually repeats the same expression several times in the Quran, that do not commit al-fasad on earth or on land.
That's right.
So, but I've never thought I came across a verse where it's because I wanted to understand exactly what is this facade, and you described it as being wicked. So
no, ta'taw. That's what I said. Ta'taw,
yeah.
Ta'taw,
But
yeah.
ta'taw is the action, and the result of ta'taw is al-fasad. Am I correct?
Well, basically, the way I translated it is that I said, I don't have it here. This is the old one, but anyway, the way I translated it is that do not use matter wickedly as corrupters. Okay.
Okay. Yes.
So you see, as I said, when you build something that actually kills somebody, okay, a bullet is designed to kill somebody.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's not a good thing to do. Okay. Now, if you build a flak jacket or something that actually prevents somebody from killing you, that's a good thing to do. Again, you go back again to the story of David. Okay. So David had that ability. So that ability that he had, that iron was soft for him. Okay. That ability had to be used with the matter that he was at his disposal. Okay. In a good way, and that good way was to build shields, not swords. Okay, that's the key. And so that we have also those options too. As I said, you can build a satellite that spies on somebody. Okay, don't do that. Offer you a job, don't do that. Now you can build a satellite that looks for climate changes and stuff like that, so you can have a good crop or something like that. That's something that God is in. That's a good thing. Because it's going to feed people.
Yeah.
You see, you're going to have a bigger crop. The prices go down, so you can feed a larger group of people. That's a good thing to do. And we, as people who are trying to lead a righteous life, this goes under the umbrella of leading a righteous life. Amil salihat. Okay, that drops under that umbrella. Okay.
And actually, that's what I wanted to come to, because I've never, me personally, never connected between. We see in the Quran several verses where God says, "Those who believe, amanu wa amilu salihat." So those who believe, it's repeated so many times. So in other words, the believing is not enough. So there is actually, we are commanded to act with the sulh, and I found one verse that really all of a sudden it opened up to me, is that for God al-mufsid is not like al-muslih, so he compares them like one against the other. So and in verse 220 of chapter 2, and then all of a sudden the way I was looking actually at all these verses, all you who believe and do righteousness or good deeds, had all of a sudden a different meaning for me, because I really thought there are a lot of things that, okay, salihat, that means good deeds and this and that and charity and stuff, but actually it goes beyond that, because and you in your translation you put it, and God distinguishes the evildoer from the righteous, and al-muslih and al-mufsid. So all this, but it's really scary, because God gives us example in the Quran about al-fasad, and one of them that really, because a lot of people take it lightly, is dealing with the orphans and mixing. Again, we go back to the matter, as you said, is we have their money, but how we are using it. And it's really scary when and how important is this, it's really, so that's, thank you so much, Dr. Fazely, because that's really pushed me to look into it deeper and see how really we are on. I understand better when God says we are on the borderline to slip easily, because it's really, as you said, is everything that we use, our money, our matters, or whatever we buy, whatever we use, whatever land we have, whatever assets we have, are they truly coming from al-fasad, or it's really, thank you so much. It was mind-boggling to me, and it boosted me. And in particular, usually fasting, I'm not that focused, but this time I got this boost of energy, and I was telling, man, I need to pay attention to a lot of things. Thank you so much, Mr. Fazely.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I mean, this again goes back to what we can do with matter. We can also make idols with matter.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Remember what the Ten Commandments. If you go to that again, okay, thou shalt not make graven images, okay, in the form of anything in the heavens and the earth, okay. Be devoted to them, and that's what they are. Okay, we're making weapons of mass destruction. We are devoted to these weapons because we think that these things are going to bring us security.
Yes.
Okay, and we use them as a big club. Okay.
Yeah.
And we use them. We carry this big club with us, and if somebody doesn't listen, bang, hit him in the head. Okay, let's nuke him.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Carelessly, people say that all the time. Somebody doesn't agree with us, let's nuke him.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
This is how much respect they have. Okay. This is not the way to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, but as I said, these have been these kind of enlightenments have been going on for thousands of years, and people do not listen to it. Okay. And I said this, about the thing, about the statues now. Okay. The statues. Okay. We are getting rid of these Civil War statues right now. Okay. Now they are building statues of, it's the people that they like. Okay. So that one is okay. Okay. There's a huge statue of Jesus in South America, in Brazil. I don't know what they call it. Okay.
Oh, yes.
There are all of these other statues here that they exist. Okay. And so Martin Luther King now has statues. They're building those statues. God says, don't make it, period.
Right.
Okay? It's an evil thing to do. We cannot do this. We are going to see the consequences, and the consequences are not good.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have to, then, we complain about what is happening to us. Well, I mean, look what you are doing.
Right.
These are not the things to do. As I said, we are in charge of matter, and so we have to treat it amicably, treat it the way that God meant for us to use it as, and that's what we have to strive. And this is striving in the cause of God. Jihad. So striving in the cause of God. And so they take it completely out of context. Aggression, go kill this one, put a bomb in this one, and blow the bomb this mosque and that mosque, all kinds of stuff. That's not the way to do it.
Yeah.
Striving the cause of God means we have to recognize these responsibilities that He's given us. These are great responsibilities. That's why the other guys refused. It was offered to them.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
Okay? Quran tells us about that. Okay, that He offered to the vacuum and matter and the mountains and everybody, and they refused. They were too afraid to take it. And we took it, and God says we were ignorant. We didn't realize these things. So after all of these reading the Quran so many times, now we understand what we are supposed to do.
Yeah.
If somebody offers us, for example, in some spy agency or something, that we have to do this and this and this, we say no thanks. Okay?
Exactly.
Simple as that. Okay? Because we don't want to.
The matter also, Dr. Fazely, is we are included in that matter. I mean, in that.
Exactly.
We are not excluded, because one of the examples that I came across is actually the abortion. I mean killing, and one verse that really shocked me, Dr. Fazely. I've never paid attention to that. The law of the equivalence that also was to the children of Israel.
Yes.
So, and we all know that the nuts for nuts. I mean,
yes.
and so on.
Yes.
Right.
And
exactly. Right.
Yeah.
And in that, I believe it was chapter 5. In that verse, it says the person for do not kill a person unless against another person, which means somebody got killed and got the in there. But also it says بغير نفس أو فساد.
Yes, exactly.
Which is really serious. The matter is really serious.
It is very serious. Yes, very serious.
So.
You brought a very good example of ourselves, okay? I mean, you look at, for example, look at Joseph. Joseph was this handsome guy, okay? Yeah. But he used his body as not a sex object.
Exactly.
Okay? He used that matter that composed his body in that beautiful way. Remember that he walked in there, and all of these women, they cut their hands with the knives. Yeah. Okay? They were so taken by his how handsome he was. But he used it in a righteous way. Okay? Yeah. So those are lessons that we have to learn. And this facade that God is talking about here, and that do not be wickedly doing these things. This means that all of these things are at our disposal, and we have to be very careful how we actually employ them and how we use them.
So is it fair enough to say that, in fact, anything that exists has two natures?
Dual use, you mean. Dual use.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I said the same thing, okay? You can make a microphone, okay, to transmit your voice to somebody else or the other telephone. Okay, so that's a good thing. Now, you can use that microphone to spy on somebody, and you're not supposed to do that. Okay? Yes. That's what it cuts it off.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Fazely. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, it was as I said, this is the knowledge that God gave us in this Ramadan. Okay, so. And it's absolute generosity and absolute mercy and kindness and love. That's all I can say.
Salam alaikum, Dr. Fazely.
Walaikum salam, Nishat. Yes.
Last week we were talking about, a lot of people have the belief even without, hearing about the scripture. And today when you were talking about it, it reminded me many years ago, we were having a discussion with someone and, they were offered a job. That person was offered a job in a weapon company. And although that person really needed the job, and it was an administrative job, it wasn't like that person was going to go make any, she was not an engineer or scientist or anything. It was very administrative job, yet she refused. And she said, I don't want to even contribute to a company that makes weapons.
Exactly.
And what you were talking today, it reminded me that, God inspires people who have pure hearts not to do the wrong thing. And, alhamdulillah, today it was eye-opening. And what you talked about, it has very vast application. But in our day-to-day life, we all may get these opportunities that, we get a very good job offer. And we can justify and say, well, I'm not going to make that. I'm not going to spy. I'm going to be, doing something that has nothing to do directly. But if that company's job or goal is to create something that's not good, you're contributing to it. So it's our choices, And when you were talking about it, it was just like, that person was inspired without even reading Quran or anything about this.
Exactly.
They were at a hard spot. They needed the job very badly, but they refused. And so, I mean, it was very straightforward. And when I remember when we talked, it was like, there's no question I'm not going to take that job no matter how much I need it. And it was, I remember it really left an impression on me how that person has so much resolution about the values and beliefs that they had.
Exactly. Those are principles that people have. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, they respect their own principles. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Okay, anything else? Any other comments or observations or any questions? Okay, if there are no more questions or anything, we'll go ahead and finish for tonight then. And so wish you a good Ramadan again. And so this first few days, I hope and pray that everybody had success and everything went smoothly for them. And inshallah, we'll be able to do the rest of this and get closer to God during this month, inshallah. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the 3 al-Fatihahs that we usually do. Okay,